Hello out there, my fellow Patagonians. It's your boy, Mario Fama RD, aka Yo Soy Blanco, pero no soy banco. And today is a rare day. It's a day that I really don't do anything besides working from home on the computer. Because some of you guys don't know, but I'm a motorcycle accident survivor in New York, and every once in a while my back acts up. So when it's like that, I just take a rare day that I just don't do anything, don't go anywhere, take these special pills that I buy here for my back, and then I just feel better within 24 to 48 hours, more or less. So I want to take this time, to reflect and just talk a little bit about things that I've seen online when it comes to influencers. Now, some people say I'm an influencer. I don't consider myself an influencer at all. Not that I get upset about that, but I'm a person who has constantly documented my life here in the Dominican Republic. I've documented when I go to Colombia, when I go to Panama, and as I go back and forth between DR and Panama, I'm going to be documenting more of what I learned over there. Now, there's nothing wrong with documenting, your daily life or sharing with people the things that you discover that are new for you when you get to a new country. But a lot of trends that I've seen right now with different influencers is that they charge people money to give them advice. Now, is there anything wrong with that? No. Like in Facebook, somebody, I think it was this morning, asked like these 37,000 questions. And I'm like, you need to pay somebody a couple of hours worth of consulting because it's just that profound and that in-depth that you need some really customized answers, and you need answers from people that actually know what you're looking to do. And if you're asking between Punta Cana and Santo Domingo, for example, we go to what I'm going to talk about today, which is a lot of these influencers, like some of them, they've already done this before in other countries. Then they move to this country, they do it here. Then when they're done here and they're not making any more money from their videos, they move on to another country, and so forth and so forth. Then there are a lot of people who come here and they discover for themselves the Dominican Republic. As I say, there's nothing wrong with sharing your discovery of the Dominican Republic with your public, but a lot of people are giving advice on what I feel is things they don't know about. They give business advice. Well, if you're going to give somebody business advice on how to put their hard-earned money in this country, what businesses have you succeeded at so far? What can you show that you've succeeded, that you've been successful? More importantly, where have you failed? Because it is impossible that somebody comes to the Dominican Republic, drops $100,000, $200,000 down on a business, and is just successful right off the bat. I have not seen that happen. You've got to lose money in order to make money here. My first business, I broke even. I did business, a bar in Santiago back in 2010 with a friend of mine that I knew from New York. And well, as soon as I got here and we started doing it, he started being, ya tu sabes. So I didn't like the way the shit was, and I left and I broke even. My second business in Sosua Cabaret, the restaurant, I lost like $80,000, $90,000. I lost shit there. You've got to lose in order to be successful in business here. So these people that are giving you business advice, where's their portfolio? Where's their track record? What have they done? It's super easy to look at things that you have, let's say online and paperwork here, and say, well, things are this way. Just like the residency process, oh, it's this way. But there's a reason why 80% of the people suffer and go through hell, and most of them throw in the towel. So things are not just the way you see them on black and white on paper. They give advice on where people should live. When people are like, oh, I want to live in Santiago, I want to live in Santo Domingo, I want to live in Punta Cana, I want to live in Sosua. Have you lived there? Where did you live? Where are the photos of you and your friends? Where did you go out to eat? Did you work? Where did you work? What corridor did you have to go through? And how was traffic there? And how is it today compared to how it was a year, 2, 3 years ago when you lived there? You shouldn't be giving advice, in my opinion, if you haven't lived in a certain city. It's cool to come in, stay in an Airbnb in a place, go to a few restaurants you found online and give your review and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. But you haven't lived in Santo Domingo. You haven't lived in Santiago. You haven't lived in Sosua Cabaret de Puerto Plata. You haven't lived in Las Terrenas. You haven't lived all over Punta Cana. You haven't lived in these places. So you don't know what life is like. And you're telling people what they should do and where they should put their money and their lifestyle without knowing. You're assuming because you went a couple of times there and you think you know. So it's really important to look at the influencers that you guys follow, whether it's free or whether it's paid, and just see what their track record is. If they're telling you to invest in a certain place, well, what's their track record to give you that, that advice? And why that place and not the 100 of other places in the area? For somebody who knows, that's super easy to explain. And also beware of these influencers that all they do is post a positive. It's like the news, right? When you see certain news and they have one agenda, it's bullshit because they have just one agenda. Or when they give you the token negativity, oh yeah, it's so hard. Oh, the traffic is horrendous. But everything else is paradise. There's no such thing as paradise. Wherever you go, there's going to be the good and there's going to be the bad. And if you want to do business in those places, you have to change your theater of war. Like in World War II, if you were in the South Pacific theater and then you went to the North African theater, you had to change your entire different style of war to accommodate to the new theater that you were in, right? If you were in the Russian front or whatever, you had to fight differently than if you were in the North African front. It's the same thing. You're trading one front of doing business to another war front where you're going to have to go to war to do business. Don't let the ease of starting things up here and the lack of regulation, don't let those things fool you. It's very easy to get in, very difficult to get out, and you can lose a lot of money taking influencers' advice that have not done the things that they tell you to do, that have not won and done well in those things, but also have not failed, because only through failure can we reach ultimate success. Any person who tells you they have not failed and can't show you where they failed, to me, it's full of shit. They're lying. They're just telling you something they read on a textbook, something they read from somebody else, and they're just giving you this. And don't be fooled by nice graphics, nice all kinds of graphs and stuff like that. It's super cool. Some people put a lot of work into doing all these cool presentations in their videos and stuff like that, but they're worth two papa fritas, because at the end of the day, if you haven't applied these things, if you haven't learned from these things, if you haven't failed and succeeded at these things, you're giving people advice that is just not true. It's a hypothetical. So whenever you guys are taking advice from these people, look at where they've lived. Where are their friends at? Show me your friends. Show me your social circles. Show me where you hang out at. Who do you hang out with? What do you do here besides hang out with a few token Dominicans maybe in your neighborhood where it's mostly expats and it's just one or two Dominicans that speak English, maybe well-to-do, and you're like the token over there with them. The other thing I'm going to say is, if the person does not speak really fluent Spanish, how can they properly advise you and tell you that they have assimilated to the Dominican Republic or to this country in general, because this applies for Panama, Colombia, donde sea. If the person doesn't speak really well, there's no way they've assimilated. So I'll give it to you guys in a reverse. Let's say a guy from the Dominican Republic moves to Washington Heights. Washington Heights is equivalent to living like in Cocotal for expats or whatever, living in Corrales Bávaro or wherever all the expats live, in Casa Linda or something like that, living in one of these expat areas, right? So this Dominican guy goes to Washington Heights, hangs out with all Dominicans, has all the Dominican friends, maybe meets one American guy here and there, and whatever the case may be. And now, 2-3 years after living in Washington Heights, not really opening up any businesses, not doing anything, just kind of chilling there, decides to charge Dominicans that are coming to New York City, to the United States, money, or decides to give advice on how living in the United States in general is. Now, if he's from New York City and he doesn't speak English, how much can he really tell people about what American life is like, where so much of it is in English throughout the entire country? Two, if he lives in Washington Heights, how can he tell you what it's like in LA? How can he tell you like what it's like in Miami, what it's like in Houston, what it's like in Ohio, right? Think about it. That makes sense, right? So why would you not apply the same kind of like thought process when you come here? If a person, all they know is Punta Cana, if all they know is Las Terrenas, how can they possibly give you advice on Santiago? How can they give you advice on San Pedro de Macorís? How can they give you advice on Santo Domingo when they haven't lived there, they haven't shopped there, they have no friends, they have no social circle there, they don't really do anything there? So think of it in reverse always. I think like sometimes when we move abroad, we're looking for certain things, and when we find what we're looking for, and influencers are really good at selling you what they know you're looking for, not what you need. Anybody who gives you all positive, 97% positive with a bullshit ass fake negative, yeah, one little negative. No. Those people are not telling you the truth. They're like the fake news. They give you what you want to hear, what you came here to hear. And if you follow those kind of things, you're going to lose a lot of money, and or you're going to move into places where you're going to be like, damn, this was not what I was looking for. But you almost can't blame that person, because that person you can, but you can't. That person gave you advice that they don't know about. They're assuming because they went to a restaurant a couple times and they stayed in a few Airbnbs and they think they know the whole place. If they don't speak proper Spanish, if they can't hold a 3-4 hour conversation with a bunch of people here, if they don't hang out with the middle class, with the upper class, or all these different classes of people, think about it. If you can't hold a 3-4 hour conversation, dinner, drinks with friends here in the Dominican Republic in Spanish, how well are you really assimilated to the country? You may be very well assimilated to your expat area and your expat circle, 100%, but there's no way, because if locals who prefer to speak Spanish, whether they speak English or not, if they're from here, they prefer to speak Spanish. If they all have to change to English because you're around, then you haven't assimilated. They're assimilating to you in said conversation, and it's costly because they don't want to speak in that language, right? So at the end of the day, those are signs to look for when taking advice. And I've been here for a couple of years. I've been giving people a lot of free advice. I have a Q&A group that's one of the best groups on WhatsApp in the entire country that's helped tons of people for free to get advice. Whether it's free or whether it's paid advice, look at the lifestyle of the person that is giving the advice before you take the advice. And also look if that person has done the same thing in other countries and then has decided to move on, because then that's how they make money. If they don't have a business here, if they're not working here, if the only way influencers make money is by the videos and selling you things online, then how can they give you advice about opening up a restaurant, a bar, a hotel, a construction company, real estate company, any kind of company? You don't do it. You're just assuming. You're going by what some people tell you when you're having a drink somewhere in Corrales or in Clisante. ¿Tú me entiendes? Take everything with a grain of salt and investigate who you take advice from. That's my 2 and 2.